Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Sea of Tranquility. I got two very, very special guests on the show with me today from legendary British hard rock legends. We've got Mick Box and Davey Rimmer from Uriah Heep. Welcome, guys. Such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Happy days.
Great to see you, Pete.
Same here, same here. So, last we saw each other was not that long, not quite a year ago. I was hanging out backstage with you guys, having a drink, talking shop at the Judas Priest, Uriah Heep show at the Palace Theater in Albany, New York. We were having a wonderful time. Mick, you and I were talking about how great the tour was going and how you wished you had a little bit more time on stage because the fans were really into it. Great pairing. And I mean, we talked, it's like, all right, we'll hopefully see you next year sometime. And now here we are in 2020, COVID-19. So it kind of put the touring to a halt. So
yeah, we've had the carpet pulled from under us.
Right. Yeah. And Davey and I were just talking, like March 1st, you guys played that one gig and then that was it. So, let's kind of back up a little bit. So how was the Judas Priest tour for you guys? And then what was in the plans for this year until the pandemic hit? And kind of where do you guys see yourself going into later in the year in 2021?
Well, I mean, if we take the Judas Priest tour further, I think Dave will agree it was a great time. And it was great for us in terms of, we were in front of a full metal audience. Yeah. A hardened Priest audience is a hardened Priest audience to try and impress. And the good thing about it is, we thought we'd leave all our softer songs alone and just go out there and hit the first note and hit it hard right to the end. And it worked very, very well. And in the end, we gained a lot of Priest fans in the Heep camp now, which is really, really good fun, So it worked very well for us, It's good to do those things, get out your comfort zone and go somewhere else with another person's audience. And it's great. It worked for us. And Judas Priest themselves, the band and crew, I have to say, were just exemplary. They were fantastic. We had a great time.
That's good to hear. Yeah, and they've been taken out. I mean, they took you guys out. They went out with Deep Purple. They brought Saxon out with them. I mean, that's for all of us kind of guys who are a little bit older who have, seen a lot of these classic bands many, many times. And now, a lot of our favorite bands, I'm speaking for myself, everybody's older. We're all older. The fans are older. The bands are older. So it's kind of great to see these nice pairings that bring together some of these great bands that we used to see, headline on their own, and now all together. And for me, it was a great experience.
Yeah, it's a good night for everyone, I think, because you got a lot of great musicians, you get a lot of great songs that, everyone knows and loves, and it's just a great atmosphere, all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was really good as well, because the same thing when we played the shows and after show and wherever we went, we got just so many fans come up to us saying, wow, this is a great bill, and the guys from Priest, I know that Rob Halford and Ian Hill particularly, they were Heep fans from the early 70s, so they were really excited to have us with them, and I know that they enjoyed it as well, and it was just a great experience all round, I think, because because and also we played so many places. It was a real, as soon as it started, it was like it just had the momentum going, and I mean every show was just rocking. It was great. It was so great as well to spend that much time in the States, which was great.
So for you, Davey, I mean, so you've been with the band now about 7 years. So was this your first experience playing with the band here in this country in larger venues? Because I know, Mick, you played the stadiums, you played every size arena, venue known to man here in the States. But Davey, that was kind of the first time for you. Right?
No stone unturned.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Mick's played everywhere. I mean, he's literally played everywhere. He's got so many stories. But yeah, for me, it was, I mean, since I've been playing with Mick and in Heep and stuff, we've been to the States quite a few times, but this time was the first time that I think it was the longest tour that we'd done with, in the bigger venues on one of them package tours. So it was a really great experience, and I mean, I'll never forget it. I'm happy that it's at least we did it, because it was a year ago, and then a year later, this happened with COVID and stuff. So it was, I mean, it was just a great experience to actually do it, you know, and it happened a year ago. So just pleased that we did it. It was great.
And you guys have spoiled us in recent years, because I know there was, like, especially like in the 90s and the early 2000s, you guys didn't really come over here all that often. But in more recent years, you guys have been busy pumping out albums, really good ones, and coming here pretty often. So we're getting spoiled seeing you guys every single year, and now this hits. So how did this derail your plans for 2020? And do you guys have gigs lined up for 2021 already?
Yeah, I think basically what it is, to be honest, is everything we had planned for 2020 is now in 2021. It's actually mirrored it exactly. All the festivals are being put on the same dates, and the tours that we had in place. So it's just everything's just going to be a year late. So we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary, but it'll be our 51st year. Prior to any touring that we do next year, we plan to go and make a new album too. So, you know, we're going to have some new material in the back pocket. So, you know, it's as far as we're concerned, that's all good.
That's more than good. 50 years and another album. I was just going to sit and ask questions about Living the Dream, but you guys you're moving past that already. But well, I can't wait to hear it. That's great. So let's back up to the last album. So Living the Dream was very well received by, you know, critics and fans. And it's just, for me, and, you know, I'll speak for myself here. I've been following you guys since I was, you know, this tall. And this like late career renaissance you guys have had with these last 4, 5, 6 albums that have, you know, rank up there with some of the best stuff that you've ever done. How do you feel that, especially, you know, the most recent album, Living the Dream, how does that, looking back now, it's been a couple of years since it came out. How do you feel about that album, and how does it stack up for you guys with some of the more recent releases and even the classic stuff?
I think, I put it up there with one of the best, because I think, you know, to me, it's all about chemistry, and the band as we stand now has got the chemistry that made all the other lineup successful when they had all that success, and I feel the same buzz now, you know, and plus, you know, we've got a good management team, a good agent, you know, and everyone's pulling in the same direction at the same time, which is most important, really. And I think that's when you get success, when that happens, when everything is focused and in tune with each other. And as musicians we are, and yeah, sure, we have a little fisty cuffs every now and again, you know, but you know, you got to have these things to clear the air. So yeah, but it's still very much a family, you know, very much so.
That's good. I mean, it's great to hear that the creative juices are still flowing. I mean, you guys got new music ready to go too. I mean, already that's fantastic. Have you been busy kind of trying to put stuff together while everybody's been separated during this time period here? Well,
in general terms, me personally, I write all the time. So it's a continuous process for me. So I just write. And there's an album, right? Okay, I pull all the bits out that I think are applicable to Heep, and I go down with Phil Lands, and he does the same. So I have the guitar parts and keyboard parts put together, and we write. And then, of course, Davey brought Grace onto the Living the Dream, which puts in another direction, which is great. And so we've got another write with Dave, which is fantastic. So yeah, it's the creative uses are there.
Yeah, it's been good because I mean, you know, it's been with this downtime. You know, I think it's given us all a chance to, you know, think about the next album. And I think Living the Dream was such fun to make, and it went so well. As Mick will tell you, it was a great experience to make. And now I'm really looking forward to going in and starting the next one, which I think we're going to start it early next year.
Yeah, I think we're planning to go in February.
Yeah.
Pre-production January, record it February. I think 2 weeks or something, and we'll be out and up and running.
So maybe mid-year release or thereabouts, summertime?
I think release is all down to record company, I've got to be honest. You know, we never get a shout on that. You know, they always seem to have some reason to release it this time, that time, whatever time. But the good news is there will be a new album, and it will be released, you know, which is great.
So Davey, we were talking earlier. You've been in the band now 7 years. So you filled in and replaced the legend, the late Trevor Bolder. How was that experience for you? Did the fans like take to you right off the bat? And when did you really start to feel a member of the Uriah Heep family? Not just from the guys in the band, the management, but from the fans themselves.
Oh, but yeah, it's been fantastic. I mean, the fans and Mick and the boys have been really supportive to me as well, because it was really hard. I think when a band's been together for so long, I mean Trevor was in the band since probably '77, and he was such
he was in and out twice. Yeah.
And I think when you look at the body of work he did, all the songs and the presence, his bass playing, his complete musician, great singer, he was everything. So, I mean, it was sort of daunting at first, although, because you just wanted to play it right, like just play the parts right. And it's pretty hard because, as I say, he was such a strong musician and character. But I think, I just tried to, learn the parts and add a bit of, you can't play everything exactly like someone else. So it was just making sure that, I had all the parts down, and, it's quite hard, but the fans were really welcoming right from the start, because I think with Heep music, and rock music, most people who are into it, they've been into it since they were kids, and it really sticks with you. So the fans have been really loyal, and with Heep music as well, because that's just, there's so many great bass players, there's Paul Newton, Gary Thane,
Right.
John Wett and Bob Daisley. So they've always had pretty daunting bass players, but I think it's just, I just tried my best to fit in, and thankfully it's gone so well, and all the boys in Heep have been really welcoming to me as well. So it's just been it's like, I think it's like the album title, "Living the Dream." It probably is for me, so I'm still doing it. So.
No, I mean, if I may interject there, I mean, it was just a perfect fit for us as a band, with David coming on board, and it was a perfect fit for the fans. It really was. There was a great deal of appreciation immediately for David. There was no stigma involved. There was, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, didn't look like that. He brought his own presence to the band, his own stage presence to the band, his own style of playing. I call it spider fingers.
And he's a lefty too, so that adds to the intrigue.
And it looked good because you were left-handed, so our guitars were always facing each other.
It points in, so if you check out all the pictures, actually, really looks cool.
Yeah, so it looked cool as well. So I think the whole thing moved together very, very naturally, very quickly, because it just felt good from the off. I mean, Davey came up for a little audition up in the studio we had up in Milton Keynes, and then we played 4 or 5 songs, Dave, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just said to him, "We got a passport?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What, are you going to be travelling the world, mate? Let's get on it."
Yeah.
We're off.
I was like, well, I couldn't even speak. Yeah, but it was, it's been, as I say, for me, it was just amazing, to actually play, in Uriah Heep. I mean, I've had some of the albums, in my collection, and I was playing in cover bands and stuff like that. So it was always, that period of music it's so ingrained in your head. So for me, sitting at home learning the songs, and then I have to go actually play. I remember Mick, for the first few months, Mick would call me and I have on my phone Mick Box. I couldn't believe it, for a while.
Is he really calling me? Is this? Let me slap myself. Is this really happening?
It's just one of them things, So it's like, is it real? But no, it's been. As I say, it's been fantastic.
Worked out so far, mate. So why not, eh?
I'll drink to that.
Going. Drink to that, mate.
There you go. There you go.
I've only got water. I'm sorry.
Me too. Me too.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, a question that I ask a lot of kind of the legacy bands, and I'm curious to hear your perspective. And I guess maybe this question is a little bit more for Mick, but Davey as well. With such a rich discography behind you and all these beloved songs, do you ever get frustrated? You're making new music. You've been putting out a lot of new albums in the last decade or so. Do you ever get frustrated at, that percentage of fans who it's like almost like they don't want to hear anything but the old stuff? And that's obviously what makes everybody the most happy, but that you can't incorporate more newer material into the sets. And you guys do a great job at doing that anyway. But what do you say to the fans who stopped listening to Uriah Heep in like 1977 and haven't really given anything since then a chance? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think it's a strange one, but it's I think the Moody Blues put it better. It's a question of balance.
Yes,
it really is. Because I try and put myself in a fan's perspective, if you like. If I went to a show and saw a band and they didn't play, you say I come to Heap and you didn't play a Gypsy, you didn't play a John Moore, you didn't play this, that, and the other, and Easy Living, I'd be a little bit disappointed. No matter how good it was, I'd still feel, oh, I wish, it would all be nagging at me. So I put myself in that perspective, and then we try our best to integrate as many new songs as we can, and even to the point where we were actually discussing after the Priest thing of rotating different songs, weren't we, Dave? To try and get other songs in and other songs out, and just keep it rolling and fresh and nice, But we're lucky enough to have had a lot of songs that have stood the test of time over 50 years, So it's not anything that I can't say that it bugs me, hurts me, or anything else like that, or even stifles me, because once people say, do you ever get bored of playing those songs? But once you start the intro of the song and you see the fist go at the end and the smiles up and the place light up, it's like playing it again for the first time.
Sure.
It's just it just hits you with the passion it was first written.
I think in all the times I've seen you, and it's been numerous times, there's that selection of songs that you have to play. I mean, you mentioned most of them there, but I think like the pre-show that I caught you guys at, you pulled out Too Scared to Run and Rainbow Demon, not stuff that's always in the set list. I think the time before I saw you in, was it Peekskill? I think it was, I can't remember the venue. And you guys played a whole selection of new stuff, which I thought was great. And it was like, pretty balanced set, 60-40 between the new and the old stuff. And for me, as a longtime fan who has followed every album, I like to hear that good variety. Yeah, I mean, I want to hear Gypsy before I walk out the door. Absolutely. But to hear like some of these other nuggets from the more recent albums or the 80s albums, I mean, for me, that's like a dream come true, because I've been following the band for the whole time. But like I said, it goes back to those folks who have they've got the first 5 or 6 albums ingrained in their heads, and they kind of can never get past that. But it's their loss, right? That's the way I look at it. It's their loss.
Well, I think you should be open-minded about it. I mean, if you like that period, that's fantastic, but there's a lot of great stuff in the other periods, the other 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've had a lot of success with that. And it's the same, Purple must have the same deal going on, all the bands, you can't relive that era, because it was that era for lots of reasons. The world was a different place. Diversions were very, very much smaller. It was only football, fashion, and music that people got involved in. Well, you can do all that on your iPhone now, and more, and more, and more, and more. So people are diverted more, So I used to get an album and sit there and live with it, on your record player, your vinyl, and you read the cover and stuff like that. Now it's all pretty disposable, I want to hear that song, bang, we'll hit that on Spotify. I wanted it, bang, we'll hit that. I will delete that tomorrow, it's all one finger stuff. So the world's changing how we listen to music, buy music, everything to do with music, So although those times were really great and great songs come out of it, a lot of it was due to the actual time. I mean, even record companies, you sign with a record company, sort of bore you here.
Not at all. This is what everybody wants to hear.
Signed with a record company back in the old days, you signed for 7-album deal, and you grew with the record company grew with you. And that's why we were allowed to put a 27-piece brass section on the song Salisbury, the title track of the Salisbury album. There was no 2 ways about it. Yeah, it's on. We were booked the studio, done. Great idea. Sounded great. Now you'd have to have a meeting with an accountant with 50 people before you even think about it, and then they'd scale it down to a 4-piece brass section. So that's what I mean. There was more of an investment, and when you think of artists like Kate Bush, for instance, with Island Records, she was put on her books for like 2 years before they actually started recording and releasing it, just for her to grow as an artist. And those sort of growth things are no longer here, unfortunately.
No, there's no time for that now.
It's a really sad issue, yeah.
Yeah, I think, go ahead, Dave, good.
Oh, no, as Mick said, I mean, he's explained to me loads of times, like when we're talking about music. I mean, I think you mentioned it in one of your reviews, is that the 70s can never be repeated. Such an important era of music for so many different, loads of bands, Purple and Sabbath and Queen and Heep, but it can never be the same, But I think a band like Heep, I mean, it's quite good for me because obviously coming in later to the band, obviously I love the early Heep, but with Heep there's a 70s Heep, there's an 80s Heep, there's a 90s Heep, and there's also great albums and great songs within that catalogue, So if you actually go through it, it's really hard to do a set list, as Mick will tell you, but because there's so many great, and to me online, and I think Heep fans, I mean, obviously there's a lot of guys that like the 70s period, but there's so many fans that like the 90s period, Sea of Light, Sonic Origami, and then a bit later Wake the Sleeper is an amazing album, right up to now, so there's so many great songs, so it's a tough one, but I think with that body of work, you can't please everyone.
No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
So did you guys have anybody banging down your door to play stuff off of Conquest? I mean, nobody's asking for that.
A few people, yeah.
Really?
We have a spread in England called Marmite, and the actual saying on it is, you either hate it or you love it.
Yeah.
There's no in between. And I think Conquest is one of them. You either hate it or you love it, But it's so many people's favourite album.
Of course, yeah.
Which really blows me away.
8 out of 10. No, you could talk to 10 longtime Uriah Heep fans, and 9 of them will say Conquest is their least favorite. But then that 10th person will be like, "But it's the best album they ever did," right? I mean,
that's what it's
someone always loves the worst album ever. That's just the way it goes. So
yeah, it's like people love Abominog, and the one after is
Head First.
Head First. Yeah. It's surprising to see how many people love Head First as well, and there's some great songs on it. But it kind of got overlooked, but there's some great songs on it.
The problem with that was a record company deal again. We were doing very well in America with the Abominog, the album before Head First, and it went top 40 in America. We had videos on MTV, if you remember those videos, and 8 times a day, high rotation, and it was all happening. We went out with Def Leppard, who were the biggest things in sliced bread out in America at the time, So it's an amazing time for the band. And then we released Head First, and it was going to be another step up from there. But unfortunately, the person who was in control in the record company at the time moved on to somewhere else, and the new guy came in with his guys, and suddenly you're on the back burner again. So there's so many reasons why things don't happen and albums get lost and disappear into the ether, and that's just one example.
Yeah, there was definite hit potential on that album, and you guys did the tour. That was Blue Oyster Cult, correct? I mean, that tour for the first year in the States. Yeah, I saw that tour. I mean, a lot of those '80s albums just had, Abominable for me is such a great album. It was such a great comeback for you guys. New revamped lineup, the big and ballsy sound for the early '80s. I mean, it's just a great moment in time. So
it's very much an '80s album in terms of production as well. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And Pete Goldwith, the vocalist at the time, he had a very radio-friendly voice. Would you say? So it was part of that whole time, that whole '80s deal.
Yeah. So, Mick, do you talk a lot with the old guys in the band, like you from the band, like Ken and Lee and John Lawton and all those guys? Do you catch up with them at all?
Yeah, I mean, start with Ken because obviously he's the one everybody's concerned about really. With Ken I mean, he went on record to say many, many times that he was never friends with anyone in the band. It was purely a business relationship. And that's pretty much sums it up because he always had his own separate thing, his own separate dressing room, his own separate entourage, own separate tour manager, So, he's very truthful in what he says there. So we only really connect when there's any past business to deal with. And we have had him back, haven't we, Dave? We had him back for a bit of a reunion tour out in Russia because this Russian promoter wanted us there. So we went out in Moscow and did that, and that was a lot of fun with Lee, of course. It was a lot of fun to revisit that and be on stage again. But he's taken another path in life, in his personal life and in his own musical life. He's very happy to sit there and do his little solo show things, and good on him, and he's born again Christian. He's taken all those different paths, which are not where I'm at the moment. And but John Lawton and the Paul Newtons and the Lees and all that, yes, all the time, yeah, because we were deep friends, in and out the band. So
Sure. Yeah, it's always cool to over the last 30 years to see you guys would release DVDs where anniversary shows and everybody would come on and jam and sing. It's still a big family, right?
It's enjoyable, and we did one in the Czech Republic with the Masters of Rock, which was I don't know how many people, about 80,000 people or something. It was mad.
About 80,000.
But it was really, really good fun. We had Paul Newton come out and John Lawton come out. We were trying to get Lee up, but unfortunately his health wouldn't allow him to fly to the Czech Republic at that time. So we had to do it without him. He was sadly missed, but we had a great time with those two guys, didn't we, Dave? It was good fun.
Yeah, it's great. And, it's for me, talking to when Paul was there and speaking to Lee, it's they have, so many stories they have, rock and roll stories from the early 70s.
Oh yeah, a beer in the dressing room. And it just flows.
Yeah. And so it's great. I mean, Lee particularly, I've met Lee many, many times and I'm in contact with Lee. We have a phone conversation now and again, and he's such a character, and what a brilliant drummer. He was, I think in the early 70s, there wasn't many players who could play. There was John Bonham, Lee, all them guys.
He had the fastest bass drum pedal.
So fast on the bass, a single bass drum player. Yeah.
When people used two, he just did it with a one, and it was amazing.
And he always, whenever I see him, he always tells me about the Aussie albums. He's got all these stories about Randy Rhoads and all this. He's a real kind of, so much rock and roll history, like Mick.
Sure.
That.
And he's always in everybody's prayers. I'm hoping he's doing okay.
Yeah. I talk to him nearly, every other day, really, and we never stop laughing from the minute I get on the phone to when I stop. But he's a fighter. The thing that's keeping him alive, if you want to be honest, is pure music. The fact that he could be on stage with us again, the fact that he's got his own solo album going to come out, and he's got a deal for that with a company called Cherry Red Records. So those are the things that are just keeping him a reason to get up in the morning. You know what I mean? It really is, and that's great. So. Yeah. We keep saying that, if we were doing England and you're up, mate, you're up with us, you can come up and have a sing song with us or whatever you want to do with us, and those sort of things keep him, actually going.
There you go. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So if I got a question for the both of you, if you were to pick one Heep album from each decade you guys have been in existence as your favorite, which ones would you pick? I'm gonna let Davey go first.
Well, I think Look at Yourself, the track and the album, I think has a real kind of we're here kind of vibe, get a load of this. It's I really enjoy listening to that one from the 70s. it's it's just got so much energy,
It does.
Yeah. I think from the 80s, I mean, recently I have been listening to a lot of Abominog, just because we've been playing Too Scared to Run, and all the fans, that's the one I always go for in the 80s. But I've also listened to Head First, and there's some cool songs on that. So it's like a little period that, I like. And 90s, well, Sea of Light, great. And Sonic Origami. I think Mick knows one of my favorite songs is Between Two Worlds.
Great one.
One of my favorite Heep tracks. It's got everything. It's like a little piece of Heep from each era, It's got a bit of everything. 2000s, again, I love Wake the Sleeper. I think Wake the Sleeper, you put it on and you just leave it. You can't listen to one song on that album. It's the whole thing is
start to finish.
Perfection, really. So that would be my favorites. And I mean, Living the Dream just went so well. It was like a dream. So that's another one you can just put it on and listen to. So that would be my favorites, I think.
Cool.
Well, on this Zoom, if you put my picture where Dave is and Dave where I am, I'll say exactly what you just said. I think I might have changed Look at Yourself for Demons and Wizards, purely because Demons and Wizards took us onto the world stage, with tracks like Easy Living, etc., etc. And it was the first time that we had a Rosadine cover, and it was like the artwork and the audio was sort of intrinsically linked, and it became a full item there. So that's the only change I would have made, Dave, but well done.
I will say my picks are going to mirror Davey's exactly.
Yeah.
Demons and Wizards, it's very, very special. But Look at Yourself has always been my favorite 70s albums by just a little bit.
Look at Yourself was a raw Demons and Wizards, if you like.
Yeah, exactly.
We were very. I mean, if you listen to the first album, very, very humble. There's a bit of metal on there. There's folk on there. There's a bit of jazz on there. There's a bit of bluesy stuff, if there's any blues to be had out of me. I'm too happy to play blues. That's a fact. Because people always say to me, well, blues guitarists will influence you. I said, well, no, I was too happy to play the blues. I couldn't go with any conviction.
I know.
So it was quite diverse, the first album. The second album was pretty much the same with the brass section, brass section on Salisbury, and various jazzy bits again, with a bit of rock thrown in. And it was Look at Yourself when we actually found our feet and decided we wanted to be a rock band per se. Bang.
Right.
And then again, Demons and Wizards was a more refined version of that, if you like.
Yep. Good stuff. I was listening to Rage in Silence the other day. That's a pretty damn good album, too, from the 80s.
That's a good album. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. Good. No. We've got a box set being brought out by BMG, 50th anniversary. So they keep sending me stuff to listen to, whether it's something that's been remastered and all that sort of stuff. So I've been taking a trip down memory lane this COVID-19 with all this music coming up, Heap stuff, and sitting there a complete Heap days. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's absolutely
fantastic. And you think, wow, that's my life, right there and then, and you go, oh, that's really cool. And of course, I've forgotten some of it, like you naturally would. And when it comes to, wow, what's that track? It's brilliant, so it's really cool.
Yeah, it's been good this, with this the COVID thing, the downtime, really had a chance to, really go through all the CDs, like, try and listen to like one a day, two a day, just to go through, because on like iPad and, on iTunes and everything's kind of mixed up, or in other forms of music that you listen to. But now there's a bit of time to actually put the album on and listen to the whole thing, without skipping tracks and that. So it's been interesting
what's interesting to me is when you get the album and you just throw it in a shuffle.
Yeah. Just put them on.
From all the different eras. Yeah. I really like that. I really like that. It gives me a buzz, it does. So.
There you go. So we're almost out of time. So as we wrap up, I want to thank Mick Box and Davey Rimmer so much for coming on the show. So we got the 50th anniversary is going to be 51st anniversary next year. So can we look forward to a full, hopefully headline tour from you guys here in the States? Is that in the plans?
We hope so, my friend. We hope so. And Jason Morris, a quick hello to him. Yes, he comes.
He said, he goes, you got to wear the shirt on the show. I said, all right, I will do that.
Tell him I noticed it. And a big hello from me. And he came and saw us when we played BB King's. And we had a picture taken. In fact, his picture's over there on the wall.
There you go. So, he's going to love to hear that. So awesome. As always, great catching up with you, both of you. And I hope to see you, next year at some venue here in New York. And we'll have another drink and chat a little bit. And we always love talking about Uriah Heep on this channel. So big favorites.
We can't wait, Pete.
Happy days.
Dreaming of it.
Sounds good.
We can't wait to be on stage, Dave, can we?
Oh, I tell you what, it's just
out of lockdown into rockdown. That's what we want. Happy days.
It's gonna be, it's going to be rock down.
There you go. Well, we're all looking forward to it. So thanks everybody for watching. Big thanks to Mick and Davey. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. Visit us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. For Mick and Davey, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.